So the Super Bowl just happened again, consumed the way it always is now, as an all-encompassing media event, commercial ritual, a night where the game itself is almost secondary to the ads, the halftime show, the legacy debates, and social media performance. This way of experiencing football feels natural to us, but it would have been utter alien to the originators of modern NFL football. Because long before the Super Bowl became shorthand for spectacle, commerce, and national ritual, professional football was a very different enterprise, one rooted in process, seasons, consistency, and collective achievement, rather than the compressed, mythologized moment it is today. To understand that shift, it's just to understand something fundamental about how the sport of football has been rewritten by capitalism, media, and branding, something that would likely have felt completely foreign and even incoherent to someone like, say, Bud Grant. Bud Grant didn't emerge from obscurity or nostalgia. He was one of the architects of professional football's formative era, a coach whose record and longevity in the NFL earned him a place in Canton and secured his reputation as one of the most successful and consistent leaders in the sport's history. Under his stewardship, the Minnesota Vikings reached 4 Super Bowls, an unprecedented achievement in his time. Along with that, the Vikings won numerous division titles and playoff games across decades of competition. Yet Grant's worldview towards the Super Bowl and professional competition stands in stark contrast to how the event is framed today. The Super Bowl that we know today, one that defines narratives and legacies, was not always meant to function as an existential judgment on coaches, teams, or individual careers. Its origins lies in the championship game that grew out of the merger between the NFL and its rival American Football League, a contest first played in January 1967 that was essentially an additional season finale, not the symbolic heart of the entire sport like it is today. For Bud Grant and his contemporaries, the essence of football was a season-long competition. They coached not toward a single night of ultimate judgment, but through months of incremental achievement, mastering fundamentals, navigating injuries, and adapting through a long campaign and building organizational culture. Winning the championship was a significant outcome, but it was understood as the culmination of sustained effort, not the lone arbiter of worth. The perspective held that a single game, governed by weather, chance, turnovers, officiating, injuries, matchup quirks, was a poor instrument to decide definitive superiority in what was an increasingly complex game to begin with. This older mindset reflected the structure of the sport's early economic and cultural ecosystem. The NFL was a part of a broader sporting marketplace where baseball and college football still dominated attention, and television contracts were growing, but had not yet transformed the league's calendar into a commodity-defined ritual. Even the term Super Bowl itself did not really enter the official cultural usage until the early 1970s. For years, it lacked the mythology that it carries now. Over time, that changed dramatically. What was once a season-ending celebratory capstone evolved into the single most important node in the sports industrial complex, an unofficial national holiday, a global broadcast event, and one of the largest cultural and advertising spectacles of the year. The Super Bowl now regularly draws over 120 million viewers worldwide, absorbing the attention of audiences that might otherwise ignore the sport entirely until this one moment. Now, it's important to understand that that transformation was neither natural or inevitable. It was constructed through commercial pressures, media amplification, and capitalist incentives. As television revenue became the core financial engine of the NFL, the league and its broadcast partners learned to extract maximum value from a single package moment. Television and streaming networks now pay billions of dollars for media rights anchored around the Super Bowl. Advertisers bid tens of millions for 30-second spots. Halftime entertainment has become a stage that rivals the game itself in cultural significance, and the week surrounding the game has ballooned into a festival of corporate-sponsored activations and marketing platforms. Under this logic, the Super Bowl has become more than a game. It's become a narrative engine, a place where careers are sorted, legacies are validated or erased, and the cultural meanings are condensed into a few hours of spectacle. Ring culture, legacy leagues, and quarterback counts all feel like common sense in the modern era, but they rest on an economic architecture that privileges comprehensible moments over sustained process, where the value of attention far outweighs the actual substance of competition. This is why the trophy, the commercials, the halftime show, even the global watch party matters just as much, sometimes even more, than the final score. This is why Bud Grant's approach, his calm acceptance of defeat without existential anguish, his understanding that life goes on after loss, and his encouragement for players to savor the experience rather than fear the judgment. It all reflects a microcosm of a worldview that predated this commercial rewiring. To people like Bud Grant, football was entertainment, a profession, a community project, a long arc of effort. A Super Bowl lost in an Oasis season. It was just a natural endpoint. By contrast, today's mythology treats the Super Bowl like a tribunal, one game that could justify entire careers, rewrite narratives, and define cultural memory. That shift didn't happen because football became more competitive or complex. It happened because of capitalism. It happened because capitalism needed a product that it could sell, a single, unmissable event that could draw billions in advertising, brand partnerships, global media rights, and social discourse. The Super Bowl is now less a culmination of a season and more a peak spectacle engineered for commodification and collective attention. Seen in this light, the modern Super Bowl and the age of Bud Grant belong to almost different socioeconomic realities. The era of Bud Grant placed emphasis on durable competence, accumulated seasons, and the lived texture of competition. The current era places emphasis on condensed moments, broadcast appeal, and monetize narratives. The game itself remains the same in rules and players, but the meaning that surrounds it has been completely rewritten, constructed, marketed, and sold in ways that shape it not just how we watch football, but how we value exactly what we're watching. And when you look at it that way, there's a calm acceptance that comes with understanding this, especially if your team hasn't ever won a Super Bowl, because this understanding of football is coherent. It belongs to a version of football that understands, football championships as outcomes, not civic or personal identities. That worldview feels almost incomprehensible now because the spectacle has just swallowed everything. And that's where we're at with the Super Bowl and what it has become.